Welcome back to another Notebook Check Tech Review. We've got the Toshiba Satellite Radius 11 here, and this is obviously an 11.6-inch convertible, and it is touchscreen, and it's low cost, and it's atom powered. Now, I'm going to go and give you the overall score up front because I think it's important to know that we only scored it 73%. That's not a great score. The main thing is the display. Now, if you're looking for a high resolution, very high contrast, accurate display, this isn't for you. You actually want to switch off right now because this is nothing that you'll be interested in. If, however, you're not too worried about that display, if it's an indoor use device, sofa side, casual, this might be something you'll be interested in. And I've had a look inside, and there's also an upgrade possibility that I'll talk about and show you in a minute. But first, let's just take a quick look around the device. This is the Toshiba Satellite Radius 11. Now, I said it's atom powered. It's actually the Braswell platform, and this is a Pentium 4-core, 4-thread. So it's one of the more powerful versions of that Pentium processor. It's fanless, and there's a 28 watt-hour battery inside. We'll take a look at some battery life figures in a minute. But first, let's just take a look at the ports. Now, there's actually a reasonable selection of ports. Starting on this side, though, only the USB and the headset port, but flip it over on the other side, and it's nice to see a full-size HDMI, a full-size USB 3, and a full-size SD card slot as well. So for photo editing and social media work, that's actually a pretty interesting little full-size SD card slot port there. Now then, let's just have a look at the casing. The casing itself is fairly sturdy and fairly nice. There's no wobbling or creaking, and it's held fairly well together. I've actually taken this apart, and it was fairly easy to take apart, and I noticed as I took it apart that it was fitted quite well around the edges. So the plastics are pretty good, pretty high quality and well fitted. There's no creaks or sharp edges or any bending, unexpected bending on that. On the specifications, we've got 4 gigs of RAM inside, and we've got a 500 gig spinning hard drive. And the good news is there that you can swap that out. You can get the back off fairly easily. And at the end of this video, I'll show you that. Windows 10 with 4 gigs of RAM. We've also got just an Wi-Fi N capability in this. So there's no AC Wi-Fi. So despite that reasonable connectivity on the outside, there's only Wi-Fi N on the inside, which is a bit of a disappointment, especially as this device costs 499 euros. Now, let's take a quick look at the keyboard. Now, the keyboard is, well, it's not that brilliant, to be honest. It's a very, very short throw keys. There's a very limited feel, limited click point on these keys. And overall, we weren't that impressed. It's not backlit either. The touchpad itself, well, there's a separate mouse buttons, which might be interesting to some people, but that's fairly average there. So overall, the keyboard area, not that fantastic. So this isn't a blogging device. This isn't something you want to write your next book on. This really is email, social networking territory here, and maybe typing in a few URLs as well. So, of course, you do have the option with that rotating screen there to use the on-screen keyboard, but of course that's no faster than the real keyboard. Now let's take a look at the screen, and of course I mentioned a little bit of a problem there before. Well, it's an all-round issue. Not only is it low resolution, it's not IPS, there's no great contrast. Well, have a look at some of these figures. 221 for the highest brightness in the middle. That's not very good at all. 232 on the top left. The black level is 0.29, but because that brightness level is so low, the contrast is a relatively low 762 to 1. So you notice that when you look at the screen, and let me just log in on that. If you look there, maybe you'll see on the video that the actual screen quality, well, you'll certainly see the non-IPS aspect of that screen. But there you can see some sort of wishy-washy contrast on it. Now, if we go to color as well, let's just get down here to the delta figures. 10.31 is the figure there for the color deltas. Now, that should be under 5 for a decent device. And 11.1 seconds for 11.17 for the delta on the grayscales is also pretty poor. So in general, we've got a very poor screen. Look at the the Asus Transformer T100HA, which we tested, and I've had a number of hands on with that, and that screen is really nice. The accuracy of the screen is really good, and you'll see that the contrast there is double the contrast that we're seeing on this Radius. So for this price, that screen should have been better. On the review, you'll find some response time figures. Those are really meant for gamers, and of course, this really isn't targeted as a gaming device, so not very important to most people. Pulse width modulation might be important though, so that's another aspect of the screen that has an issue. We noticed 50 Hertz flickering at screen brightnesses, but below 50%. So if you look at that screen there, you might actually see, well, let me just take the brightness down on that to 25%. On the video there, you might actually even see some screen flickering on it. So that is wasn't detectable by myself, but that's something you might be able to see if you're responsive or sensitive to PWM. So let's have a look at the performance now. We measured CPU performance, GPU performance, and hard drive performance. Let's start with CPU, because that N3700 Braswell is a 4-core, one of the high-end versions of that, and that's bringing in fairly good CPU scores. Now, it won't reach core levels of scores, but have a look at this. The Core M version of the Acer Switch 11V, that's the last generation, pre-Skylake generation Core M, 164 points. The Radius 11 with its multi-CPU score, it's got 4 cores compared to the 2-core on the Core M, 134. So in total, with a multi-core setup, it's not bad. Go to single core though, and you'll see 75 points for that Core M and a half for the Toshiba Satellite Radius 11. SunSpider then, let's have a look for the Sun. Do we have the SunSpider scores on this? We don't, but the actual browsing performance of this device should be fairly good. Now look at the PC Mark 7 score. Now this is a score that takes GPU, CPU, video, and hard drive performance and memory performance into consideration. And it's given us a score of 1778, and that's not very good at all. And that is because of the spinning hard drive inside. When you compare it to that Switch 11V, which has a proper SATA-connected SSD inside, 3,868 points, and most of that will be made up through the hard drive. Now, if we go to that hard drive score, you'll see Crystal Mark score of 84, sequential read, megabytes per second. That's not good at all. Some of the cheap eMMC SSD devices can beat that. And then go to the 4K write speed and the 4K read speed, absolutely terrible at under 1 megabytes per second. So if you're running antivirus checks on here, if you're running indexing as Windows 10 will do in the background, or you're unpacking a zip with a lot of small files, it's going to take a very long time. Those 4K read and write figures are absolutely pathetic. Now, I just want to show you one thing. One thing I did before I started this video review, I took the back off and took a look inside. Take a look at that video segment now. So let's quickly take the back off this just to check that that SATA drive is upgradable to SSD. I've taken the screws out. There's one screw in the middle. I probably just need to get that out. And that was, I think, 10 screws, 9 or 10 screws. And then all you need to do is just get the corner. I have done this before, so I know it's going to come off. And just run your nail around the outside, and it should come away fairly easily. Just one bit at the front. Ah, there we go. And then that'll just lift off. So let's take a look inside the Radius 11. As you can see, this is the important bit. The hard drive, the 500 gig spinning hard drive, is swappable. You can put an SSD in there, and you'll probably notice a lot more performance in terms of general usage. Startup of applications will be a lot quicker. Things like antivirus will run quicker in the background because it'll be able to churn through a lot more files very quickly. It will also be a little bit quieter, probably get a bit more battery life, and of course it'll be more rugged. So that's a worthwhile upgrade if you're thinking about the Radius 11. So of course you can see you can upgrade that drive to a SATA drive. Whether you want to do that because is this a device you really want to buy because of that screen is up to you. But if you stumble upon one of these at a low price, for example, or if that screen isn't an issue for you, at least you've got that SSD upgrade path. And I would recommend it as well. It's going to make it more rugged. It's going to make it quieter. It's going to make it slightly lighter. Battery performance will be slightly better. And of course, you get a big speed up on usability and opening apps and unpacking zip files, and things that run in the background will run quicker. So you'll have an overall more efficient, more cleaner device as opposed to one with running a hard drive. Right, GPU performance. Well, this isn't a gaming device, so don't expect massive amounts of gaming power here, but we got 23,867 on the Ice Storm standard score. Ice Storm standard score. I'm not going to be saying that again. The Aspire Switch 11V with its core-based processor only scored 30,606, so not a big difference. If you go down to the Acer Aspire R11, which has the low-end Braswell inside, the dual-core 17227, so you can see the big difference there between the high-end Braswell and the low-end Braswell. So there's a fairly good bit of performance here. So gaming performance, we tested Tomb Raider and got a very poor 22.5 frames per second on low settings. So this will be a device you might be able to do Minecraft on basic settings. You might be able to do World of Warcraft on basic settings, but don't look at it as a PC gaming device, despite that reasonable 3D Mark score. This is a fanless device, so no noise coming out of it except for the hard drive. And if you upgrade to an SSD, you're going to end up with a completely silenced device. 32.4, though, was the maximum we measured out on the hard driver, and that's not very loud at all, so don't worry about that. Temperatures get a little bit warm up on the top right. See where my hand is here, and I can actually feel some very slight warming right now. And then, in the middle, it's a slight on the back. That's where it is on the back, and in the middle there on the front, and I can feel a very slight warming, but nothing too much to worry about. That's 45.8 on the front and 49 degrees on the back there. That's not too much, and that's under a big load as well. And under no load, as it is here, very cool to the touch. Battery life. Our test results weren't that good. We got 3 hours 42 minutes out of our surfing test. Now that indicates to me, because it doesn't seem to be as efficient as it should be on this platform. We've tested a number of these platforms and we've seen more efficiency, better efficiency than we're seeing here. So maybe the hard drive is a problem. Maybe there's stuff running in the background that's a problem. These Atom-based devices do need a couple of days to settle down, to get all their indexing done, to get Defender work out of the way, to get antivirus stuff up to date. And if you're doing an update, or if you've got a fresh system that needs an update, that will take a few days to run through as well. So I have a feeling we might be able to get better results than the 3 hours 42 minutes out of this if we left it for another few days, if we took out all the background processes, background software, the crapware that's inside. There's an alternate antivirus running on this as well. So 3 hours 42 minutes is less than I would expect. Maybe 4 to 5 hours would be a more reasonable figure to expect there. So you probably got it by now that the screen on this isn't very good, and that the keyboard on this isn't very good, and that the battery life on this isn't actually very good. What is good? Well, it's a sturdy chassis. You can upgrade that SSD, and the connectivity is fairly good, and of course it's got touchscreen and that sort of yoga-style folding design, which can help you in some scenarios. So it's kind of leaning towards a sofa-based, indoor, casual use PC, and certainly for web browsing speed, that should be fairly good, fairly useful at home. But if you want to do anything more productive, typing, for example, that's not really the core feature of the Satellite Radius. Our overall score was 72% then, and you can see the breakdown of that on the website. For example, we gave it 70% for chassis, we gave it 84% for the weight. So have a look at that, and you might find that some of the features are actually more desirable. Now, the point is, $499 was the starting price. We're already seeing this now at €430, so there's been a lot of discounting already, and I think at $399, it might be a more reasonable buy as a casual use. But screen is pretty poor, and the keyboard is pretty poor, and that is one of the core features of a laptop. So you have to bear that in mind if you're thinking about the Toshiba Satellite Radius 11. So thanks for watching. That was the Radius 11. If you got something out of this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe because we've got other devices coming up. I've got another Toshiba, I think another Radius. I think the Radius 14 I've got behind me now, and I'll be testing that over the next 24 hours and bringing you that video soon. Subscribe, you'll get email notifications of the videos in your email box as we put them up. And thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next Notebook Check Tech Review.